As we close this week's thoughts and look forward to the new year, I want to invite you to consider your identity, the story you tell yourself about yourself. If you've been around for the last year, you've heard me say a lot of things about identity. And identity is really kind of that bottom line is what is the narrative in my own head about who I am? Most of us kind of look for identity in what we do or who we know or what we own. We kind of put our sense of being, our sense of self around something like those things. What I do, I'm this or that. Who I know, oh, I know somebody, or I came from a great family, or who we know, or what we possess. Look what I drive, look where I live, look at how I dress. We tend to think of ourselves, our sense of being, by one of those things. But God wants us to have a whole different perspective on really who are we. And when that's changed, it's because we recognize that we're not alone. It's not just about me. It's about the fact that God is with me. Jesus is with me. If I've invited his spirit to live inside of me, his spirit wants to lead me into truth. And bottom line, the truth of who he is and the truth of who I am because of who he is. That's what happened to Joseph in the first chapter of Matthew. That's what happened to the disciples in the fourth chapter of Matthew and throughout every other chapter in Matthew. They just kept discovering more and more at the intersection of their plans and God's, that God's plans were better. And they learned to follow him. They learned to trust him. They learned to rely on him. When you and I do that, it changes not just how I think, my mind, what I tell myself. It changes how I behave, my resolve to follow God, my resolve to get through difficult circumstances and situations, to invite him into those things, to discover what he wants me to get out of those circumstances. It's not me getting out, it's him getting in. It's this power that I feel to have the courage to face what needs to be faced. When those things happen, when I'm experiencing that, there's this coalescence that happens, and I discover who I really am. I discover my true identity changes my identity. You think about whenever we say Mary and Joseph, what do you think about? You think about the mother and stepfather of Jesus. When I say Peter, James, and John, if you have been around the church at all, you think about his disciples and how Jesus literally defined them. I mean, that we remember who they are. We know who they are because of Jesus. When I say St. Augustine, if you've been around the church for any time or know about church history, you go, wow, that guy had his life changed at the intersection of his plans and God's. If I say St. Francis of Assisi, you know, this amazing aristocrat that had it all going for him, felt all those things, just living a life of extravagance, came crashing in at the intersection of his plans and God's. And he became this amazing person in history. Think about Martin Luther. You think about John Calvin. You think about William Tyndale. You think about Billy Graham. You name one of the people that God's used, and they've been defined. Who they are has been defined by who they are in Jesus. Jesus not only wanted to define them, he wants to define you. He wants to define me. What defines me most clearly is my relationship with Jesus. He makes me who I am because he's changed my identity, the story I tell myself about myself. How's he changing you? This coming year, I want to invite you to simply hunker down with me, to change your mind about the direction you want to go, that you want to follow Jesus, that the intersection of you and God, it's no longer following your way but his. And I promise you, spend this next year with me, and it'll change every year thereafter. God wants to do something new in you. He wants to give you a new mind, a new plan, a new power and resolve, a new identity, a new sense of purpose. When you have that, it changes everything. All because of Emmanuel. God is with us. I'll see you soon. God bless.